deeper into next week. Bye for now.
Live from London, this is BBC News. The Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer is about to set out his party's plans to deal with people arriving across the English Channel in small boats. The UK is officially out of recession after figures show the economy is growing again. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex arrive in Nigeria for a 3-day visit to the country. You're watching BBC News. I'm Rajini Vaidyanathan. Before we hear from Sir Keir Starmer, let's take you straight to Abuja, Nigeria. Prince Harry is speaking. Well, we'll be back in a few moments, but that's it for the speech. And you can, of course, see more coverage of Sir Keir Starmer's speech on the BBC News website.
Live from London, this is BBC News. UK Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer sets out his policy to stop migrant boat crossings, promising new powers to tackle people smuggling gangs. The UK is officially out of recession, with figures showing the economy is growing again. Israel's Prime Minister vows to press ahead with the offensive in Rafah in defiance of US calls for restraint. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex arrive in Nigeria for a 3-day visit to the country.
I'm Myrie, live at the Eurovision Song Contest in Malmö, where excitement is growing ahead of the final on Saturday. But the controversy surrounding Israel's entry continues as they go forward into that final with other favourites, Ukraine, France and the Netherlands, on Saturday.
Hello, I'm Azadeh Moshiri. Welcome to the programme. Border security, migration and asylum seekers crossing the Channel in small boats.
Live from London, this is BBC News. UK Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer sets out his policy to stop migrant boat crossings.
We will set up a new command with new powers, new resources and a new way of doing things. Border Security Command.
Israel's Prime Minister vows to press ahead with the offensive in Rafah in defiance of US calls for restraint.
I'm Moshiri, live here in Malmö for the Eurovision Song Contest as excitement grows ahead of the grand final on Saturday. But the controversy around Israel continues. They have qualified and will be singing in the final tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Geeta Guru-Murthy. Welcome to BBC News Now. Border security, migration and asylum seekers crossing the channel in small boats are expected to be major issues during the
At one, good news on the economy. The UK is officially out of recession. The nation's GDP, or the value of all goods and services, went up 0.6% in the first 3 months of the year. In northern Iraq, we tracked down Europe's most wanted migrant smuggler known as Scorpion. He's arranged for thousands to cross the channel. A warning from fire chiefs over electrical items with lithium-ion batteries tossed in household rubbish. Harry and Meghan begin a 3-day visit to Nigeria. We caught up with the prince ahead of his trip. And the race to save the African penguin in the wild, is it heading for distinction?
Coming up on BBC News, Aston Villa fall short of their first European final in 42 years, but they're beaten by a team who have never made one until now. Olympiacos will face Fiorentina in the Conference League.
Hello there. The UK is officially out of recession, with economic output up by 0.6%.
An iPlayer.
Live from London, this is BBC News. UK Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer sets out his policy to stop migrant boat crossings.
We will set up a new command with new powers, new resources and a new way of doing things. Border Security Command.
Israel's Prime Minister vows to press ahead with the offensive against Hamas in Rafah in defiance of US calls for restraint. And Israel is through to Saturday's Eurovision final despite protests over the country's war in Gaza. Hello, I'm Geeta Guru-Murthy. Welcome to BBC News Now. Border security, migration and asylum seekers crossing the channel in small boats.
iPlayer. Live from London, this is BBC News. Fierce fighting in Ukraine's Kharkiv region as Russia launches a surprise attack. A man is sentenced to life with a minimum term of 40 years for the murder of PC Shambeshinivsky, who was shot dead during an armed robbery in Bradford nearly 20 years ago. Israel's Prime Minister vows to press ahead with the offensive in Rafah in defiance of US calls for restraint. A BBC investigation tracks down one of Europe's most wanted criminals, known as the Scorpion, who's admitted trafficking thousands of people to the continent. And Harry accompanies his wife Meghan at the start of an informal tour of Nigeria. Hello and welcome to Verified Live. We start this hour in Ukraine because President Zelensky says a fierce battle is underway in the Kharkiv region.
From the BBC. Watch now on iPlayer.
Live from London, this is BBC News. Figures reveal the UK has emerged from recession. The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, says he's positive.
I am confident that today's figures show that we now have momentum. The economy has real momentum. It's hard to argue with that when the figures show that we have the joint highest growth rate in the G7. That is positive.
Fierce fighting in Ukraine's Kharkiv region as Russia launches a surprise attack. PC Shambeshinivsky, shot dead 2 decades ago, the mastermind behind the armed robbery, is finally sentenced for her murder. Israel's Prime Minister vows to press ahead with the offensive in Rafah in defiance of US calls for restraint. Harry accompanies his wife Meghan at the start of an informal tour of Nigeria.
I'm Moshiri, live at the Eurovision Song Contest in Malmö, where the controversy continues to build up as the Dutch entry Joost Klein is told he's barred from rehearsing at the very last minute. We'll have that and all the very latest live from Malmö.
Hello and welcome to today's Verified Live. Confirmation today that the UK economy is no longer in recession. The economy grew by 0.6%. Live from London, this is BBC News. So Keir Starmer says if Labour wins power at the next general election, there'll be no flights taking asylum seekers to Rwanda as he unveils his rival plan. A BBC investigation tracks down one of Europe's most wanted criminals, known as the Scorpion, who's admitted trafficking thousands of people to the continent. Fierce fighting in Ukraine's Kharkiv region as Russia launches a surprise attack. And the Netherlands' entrant for the Eurovision Song Contest is reportedly stopped from rehearsing by organisers. We'll be live in Malmo with the very latest. Welcome to today's Verified Live. We begin with what is shaping up to be one of the central dividing lines.
Today at 6, the beginning of 2024 saw the UK economy growing more than expected after it shrank in the second half of last year. It means stronger sales for some, but is this the start of a real recovery?
It does feel like, things are getting busier and picking up again.
I would disagree that we're coming out of recession. I would say we're just sort of teetering.
The murder of PC Sharon Beshenivsky in 2005, a 75-year-old man is jailed for life. Labour sets out its policy on dealing with small boats, saying they'd scrap the Rwanda plan straight away if they took power. Prince William, on a visit to the Scilly Isles, tells well-wishers about Kate's health. While Prince Harry begins his own walkabout with wife Meghan on a visit to Nigeria. And why classes across the UK are being cancelled and schools closed because of cyber attacks.
On Sports Day later in the hour on BBC News, firm favourites in the Old Firm match, but can Rangers beat Celtic for the first time this season to send the title race to the final weekend?
Good evening. The economy grew more strongly than expected at the start of 2024. It means the UK is out of recession. That's when the economy shrinks for 2 3-month periods in a row as